Here we are back once again in the Champions Pavilion 65th Annual Ford Boat Sport and Travel Show. I am the host of Indy Sports Show Live, Brian Pointer, and we couldn't be happier. Out of the nasty weather, crowds on this last day expected to be bigger and bigger than what we've already seen, which is hard to imagine. But a great day to come out, all of the great activities. Of course, check out the online schedule for Facebook Live, for Indy Sports Show Live on Facebook and YouTube. Go to the indysportshow.com and you can find out who all has been with us. You can find out what they've been talking about, and more importantly, you might want to tune in all throughout the day with our guests that are coming up. So, it's the Boat Sport and Travel Show.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Indiana somewhere in there, and I know something that's I'm very proud of, and I know you are as well. Angie Manuel is with us. She is the Chief of Interpretation.
Correct.
For the Division of State Parks in our Department of Natural Resources. So, on my weekend gig, Indiana Outdoors Radio, I spend an awful lot of time with your boss, Ginger Murphy.
Yes.
And the director of the division, Dan Bortner. And I also spend a lot of time with the interpreters. And I've always heard Dan Bortner say, you know, we're in the business of making memories. What is an interpreter? How does that play into each one of our state parks?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people don't understand why we're called interpreters. Interpreters, generally, if we weren't in a DNR uniform, they think that we translate another language as an interpreter.
Yeah, you're not there to help the Chinese have an experience at the state park.
No, although we welcome all guests.
Yes.
But the foreign language aspect is what is unusual about our title. Our job is to translate science and nature and history for people so that they can make that connection and so they can make those memories. So that's where interpreter comes from.
And every one of the state parks, I love all of them. They
Yes.
all have their own character.
Absolutely.
You know, you've got a great park up at Pokagon, which is my favorite. The Potawatomi Inn is one of my all-time favorite to go, especially in the wintertime.
You bet.
And then you've got a place like Mound State Park, which has history to it.
Yeah.
And Prophetstown, which is our newest state park.
Yeah.
So each one of those experiences, you help to draw out through all the interpreters there, what it is meant to convey.
Yeah, you know, we're really fortunate, like you said, to have such a diverse offering of state parks, and that was our state park founders' mission, was to really highlight the unique gems of Indiana. And so once those were set aside for the people who live in Indiana, then it's our job as DNR staff and state park interpreters to share that uniqueness with the visitors. So whether it's heading down the toboggan at Pokagon, or snowshoeing at Pokagon, or walking through the tall grass prairies at Prophetstown, that's what an interpreter does, is to help people understand and appreciate it.
You know, those state parks that have visitor centers or nature centers oftentimes have something that's unique to the park, and the interpreters help to answer questions and help fill in the blanks other than, wow, that's a pretty tree.
Exactly.
Indiana should be extraordinarily proud of its state park system. I know they're a great place to go and, you know, have a picnic or whatever, but they're award-winning. I mean, it's an impressive resume, and I know Dan Bortner, the director, is well respected amongst his peers of other state park directors.
Yes.
When you go to work every day, how do you see our state parks? I mean, what are you proud of?
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate. I am one of those Hoosiers who grew up in a state park. Chain of Lakes was my state park in northern Indiana. So that was my family memory. And then as I, got older and went to college and decided this should be a career, I got to fall in love with all the other state parks and meet families who have their own family state park, the one that means a lot to them. So we're really lucky that our state parks have been taken care of and shared with visitors. We're very lucky to have a director like Dan Bortner, who not only appreciates and helps us support state parks, but appreciates interpretation and what an interpreter, a state park staff person, can bring to the visitor and helps them connect with them. So we're very proud that he's He's extremely involved in the National Association of State Park Directors.
I think they had their national meeting in Indiana, didn't they?
They did, I believe, either a year or two ago.
Yeah,
We were
that was a big deal.
We were proud to host them.
You know, there's so many tangents here that I could go off on, but parks just aren't picnic benches anymore. I mean, they are truly the aquatic centers at different parks, the features that have been added, and you're just flush with money, so you can do whatever you want, right?
Of course we are.
How do you go about recreating an experience every year? What do you do differently every year?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, for a lot of people, they have traditions within their own family, so we don't need to create anything for them. They've really taken that task onto themselves. We're there just to kind of facilitate their fun and their memories. But for other people, we do need to work hard to get them to understand what's unique about our parks. Just from basic customer service, hi, welcome to Prophetstown State Park, hi, welcome to Mound State Park, to making sure they have a good camping experience, offering them programs, hikes, walks, talks.
Yeah, the programs are what makes it. I think you guys have such a unique, you can go to the DNR calendar for our state parks and look at the programming.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where I was intending to go. It's really neat and cool stuff. Night walks looking for owls and all sorts of different things. And those have to be fun to come up with and new ways to present them.
Yeah, they are exciting, and luckily our state parks, whether they're a few hundred acres or a few thousand acres or 10,000 acres, every inch of that land is an exciting opportunity to tell people about the park and share with them, like you said, a night hike, a morning hike, a bird program, a archaeology program, an art program. There are a lot of different ways to connect with our visitors, and programs are just one of them.
And they're they're very unique and diverse. There was a program that was run for people to send in their photos and, you know, what's the most photogenic place in the state. And I think 7 of them were state parks.
Yeah.
And that made some national news. I know that Patoka Lake in different areas and regions are destination points, in Patoka not being a state park necessarily, but I'm just looking in my mind of all these different places that people could go to the inns, even here a metro park like Fort Harrison. I learned something almost every time I talk to Ginger. Like, I didn't know that happened there.
Yeah.
You know, this battle is going to be reenacted, or this museum is here. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. I mean, a lot of people know our state parks for the variety of nature, lakes, wetlands, woodlands, prairies, rivers, creeks, and streams. A lot of people know our state parks are nature, but a lot of people don't realize that our state parks are also a place for history and culture.
Yeah.
Whether that's prehistory, Native American history, to military history, to CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, railroad history, and just a slew of other wonderful history options.
I'm a big fan of the inn food.
Yes, me too.
The inn food is fantastic. What's your favorite state park?
For food?
No, just in general. I ask this of all the DNR people, because they all have come up with different things.
Yeah, and we get asked that a lot too, whether we're at the state fair or here at the boat show. That is a really hard question to answer. I would say simply because I recently worked at Prophetstown State Park for the last 6 years, it's probably, it is my favorite state park right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I worked at Mounds, it was my favorite state park.
Wow, I happened to pick 2 parks that you worked at.
When I worked at Indiana Dunes State Park, that was my favorite state park. Then Potato Creek before that, and then Channel Lakes before that.
So, you know, I'm glad you brought the dunes, not that you were with the state parks, but we have our first national park.
Yeah, how exciting.
And I was talking to the manager up at Dune State Park, and also with the National Parks Department on Indiana Outdoors Radio. 3 million people come through that area up there, and it's going to only be driven higher now because of that national park designation.
Yeah.
What haven't I asked that you want people to know about our Indiana state parks and nature preserves and interpretation, and what else is out there that I haven't asked?
That's a good question. You've asked a lot of great questions about what people can do at our parks.
Talk about the annual passes.
Oh, great.
Best value.
Oh, that's a huge seller right now. People are, they're past the holidays. They're getting a few glimpses of 40-degree weather, 50-degree weather, and it makes them think, hey, I want to go outside for the day. So that annual pass, it's good for all 32 state parks and reservoirs for an entire year. For somebody who's under 65 years old, it's just $50, which is a great bargain. If you happen to be at that magical age of 65 or up, it's $25.
I mean, you can't go to a movie for $50.
No, not too much.
It's crazy.
Not and spend the entire day.
And the gate fees and things, you can load up a car and have a wonderful experience. It's very economical. Yeah. Angie, I can't thank you enough for being a good ambassador for our state parks and interpretation. And truly, I am a fan of all the work that all of the people that work for you do, because they do make memories. And I know, Dan Bortner, the director of the department, wouldn't be happy unless I brought that issue up. We are so happy here in the Champions Pavilion to be moving through the final day of the 65th annual Ford Boat Sport and Travel Show. What a diverse group of people we're going to be visiting with throughout the rest of the day. Go to the online program and check out the times that we're going to be broadcasting live. Maybe pick up on some of the masterpieces that we put together already, like my interview with Twiggy, the water skiing squirrel, yesterday. First, mic drop, I'm out. My career has now reached a pinnacle. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to be back real soon. Check us out. Stay close.